to report from you from Jerusalem, sharing about these times of war that we are living here, Israel and Iran. One thing that I would like to show you is that your prayers, they are being listened by God. And it's very important that you praying for the peace of Jerusalem. And we see already some shops open, people on the streets. This is something like relatively new. It's the second day on a row that we don't have any fatalities, any victims of the war here in Israel, that the missiles are not hitting the urban centers, and life is quite normal, I would say, these 2 days. And this is just a video to encourage you to keep praying, keep wishing for the peace of Jerusalem, praying for the army. Something that touched my heart a lot in these days is that the spokesperson of the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, of the regime, he said that Israel and the IDF, they are fighting aside with ghosts, demons, and some kind of sorcery, witches. And because they are together with spiritual forces. And what I want to say to you is that maybe they don't know, but the same God, same Hashem, Adonai Tzevot, from the Tanakh, from the Bible, is the same today in Israel. We see the hand, the mightful, like the powerful hand of Hashem is still working for us because He's saving us, He's protecting us, and He's leading our army. Well, says the Bible, in Eloi Anu Veloshen Shomer Israel, here behold the guard, the one who keeps Israel safe, he does not sleep.
The person of Jesus is viewed. What do scholars say about the historical Jesus versus what popular culture might say? I mean, yeah, we're dealing with two separate things. Did the man exist? Or, did he actually say things? And, can we corroborate those types of things? Archaeology can't address all of it, but it can certainly point the way regarding the first type of inquiry. Well, what about people and places in the Gospels? Are there many archaeological discoveries related to these, such as the birth and ministry periods of Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some different sites like Bethlehem, Nazareth, Jerusalem, the region of Galilee. So Bethlehem, we know archaeologically, people were living there at the time of the birth of Jesus. Same with Nazareth. And Nazareth was occupied by Jews who were both agriculturalists and artisans, and they were observant of the Mosaic law. So that fits the family of Jesus perfectly. Jerusalem as well, of course, there's no debate over that, but the temple, for instance, which Jesus visited, that is well attested archaeologically and historically in the first century.
Okay. Now you tell us the story of the Galilee boat that was found in 1986 in your book. How does that illuminate the historical context of first century Galilee and the life of Jesus?
Well, we only knew about these boats from literary texts in the past, such as the Gospels. Josephus also talks about these boats, how they could hold, up to 15 people. So that would fit perfectly for Jesus and his 12 disciples. But then this boat was discovered, the actual remains of it, and it was buried under the mud from the first century. And it was the same size of boat that Jesus and his disciples took. It's the same type that's described by Josephus. And so now we had physical remains of this type of boat right there on the shore of Galilee where Jesus used these boats to get around the lake.
Wow. And it's amazing how these things get found. I mean, some discoveries are made when people are actually looking for them, and others, they just sort of happen. I mean, this was the result of a drought, wasn't it?
Yeah, the lake was low at that point, and there were these two brothers who, they were always interested in finding something like that, an ancient boat. So they had their eyes peeled for it, and they noticed something sticking out of the mud, and they went and investigated, and it turned out to be the remains of this ancient first century boat.
Wow. Well, what about the miracles of Jesus? Is there archaeological evidence and analysis that can support any of the Bible's claims about the miracles that Jesus performed?
What we have is archaeological evidence of locations where Jesus performed some of these, as well as ancient manuscript copies that discuss different perspectives on the miracles of Jesus. So, for example, in the book of John, in Jerusalem, there are a couple of important locations of the miracles of Jesus. There's the pool of Bethesda and there's the pool of Siloam. So now both of these have been discovered, and we see that John accurately described them pre-70 AD. So we know he was there, he knew what he was talking about. But we also have ancient manuscripts which describe reactions to the miracles of Jesus. So Celsus, which we mentioned earlier, he talks about the miracles of Jesus. His explanation is that Jesus learned magic when he was in Egypt, and so that's how he was able to perform miracles. We also have Josephus commenting on how Jesus performed some kind of paradoxical works. He doesn't really comment beyond that. He's fairly neutral, but he knows about Jesus doing some kind of miraculous works. The Mishnah talks about Jesus supposedly having the power of sorcery. Okay, so they're looking at it from he is performing miracles through the power of the devil. And in the Gospels, that's what we see some of the Jews accuse Jesus of as well. And then there's a Christian source, Justin Martyr, writing to the emperor, and he actually appeals to the records of Pontius Pilate to see how Pilate mentioned these miracles of Jesus. So we've got various sources. None of them deny that Jesus performed miracles. They just have different explanations of how that happened.